Have you ever had that feeling, you know the one, where it feels like you're living on a stage with a giant spotlight following your every single move? Yeah, we've all been there. And it turns out that whole thing, it's pretty much all in our heads.
I mean, we've all felt it, right? You trip on a perfectly flat piece of sidewalk, or you say something just a little weird in a meeting, and boom, instantly, you're convinced that every single person not only saw it, but is now replaying it in their minds for the rest of the day.
And it could be literally anything. A bad hair day that feels like a giant flashing neon sign on your head, that tiny little food stain on your shirt that to you is basically screaming for attention. Or, hey, maybe you're trying out invisible braces for the first time, and you're just positive everyone is staring at your mouth, totally judging that tiny list you think you have.
Well, guess what? That's super common, and let's be honest, pretty uncomfortable feeling. It's not just you being weird. It actually has a name. It's a real, documented psychological thing.
It's called the spotlight effect, and it's exactly what it sounds like. It's this psychological phenomenon where we tend to believe we're being noticed way more than we actually are. It's like we're walking around with our own personal imaginary spotlight, just highlighting every little flaw for the whole world to see.
Okay, so how do we know this is a real thing and not just us being overly anxious? Well, let's dive into the science, because it actually proves that this all lies on me feeling is just a really clever trick our brains play on us.
And here's the really important part. This isn't just, a feeling of being a little self-conscious. Nope, the spotlight effect is a measurable cognitive bias. It's a predictable, consistent error in the way we think, something scientists can actually track in a lab.
So you might be wondering, how on earth do you measure something like that? Well, there's this classic study they did. Psychologists got some college students and had them wear a, let's just say, super embarrassing Barry Manilow t-shirt. Then they had them walk into a classroom full of their peers. Afterwards, they asked the student wearing the shirt, okay, what percentage of people in there do you think noticed your shirt? What's your guess?
They guessed that about half the people in the room, 50%, spotted it, and probably judged their, let's call it, unique fashion choice.
But, and here's the kicker, when the researchers went and asked everyone else in the room what they saw, what do you think the actual number was?
Get this, it was only about 25%. They overestimated how many people noticed by double. It's such a perfect example of that huge gap between what we think is happening and what's really going on. I mean, we're the star of our own movie, right? But to everyone else, we're just a background character.
But wait, it actually gets even deeper than that. See, it's not just about being seen. It's about what we think that attention means. We're not just worried that people see our little mistakes. We're terrified that they're drawing these massive, life-altering conclusions from them. And this is where things get a little more complicated. So, you've got the spotlight effect, which is all about visibility. Oh no, they saw me mess up. But then, researchers found this related bias they call the overblown implications effect. And this one is the belief that people take that one tiny mistake and use it to judge your entire competence. So you don't just think, oh, they saw I burned the cookies. You think, great, now they all think I'm a horrible cook who can't do anything right. So why do our brains do this to us? Well, it all comes down to focus. Think about it. When you're the one trying to parallel park, that single action feels like the final exam for your driver's license, right? That one wobbly maneuver feels like the only thing anyone will ever remember about your driving. But for the person just walking by, your parking job is just one tiny, insignificant pixel in the huge picture of what makes someone a good driver. They've got this wide-angle view while we're stuck with our noses pressed up against the screen, zoomed in on our own tiny failure.
Okay, so where does this even come from? Are we just born this way? Well, kind of. This whole bias isn't something that just pops up when we're adults. It actually has roots that go way, way back to when we were kids. You can almost think of it as something that grows up right alongside us. It starts in early childhood with something psychologists call egocentrism. You know, that kid logic where you think everyone sees and feels the exact same thing you do. Then you hit your teenage years and it morphs into the imaginary audience, that classic teen feeling that you're always on stage and everyone's watching. And then finally, when we're adults, it gets its grown-up scientific name, the spotlight effect. The name keeps changing, but that core feeling, it pretty much sticks around.
So the real reason behind all this is actually pretty simple. It's a thing called anchoring. We are totally, completely anchored in our own experience. That bad hair day, that awkward comment, it feels huge to us because we're living it. And even when we try to guess what other people are thinking, we just can't completely shake that intense first-person feeling. We're basically chained to our own point of view.
All right, so this is all really interesting, but let's get to the big question. What can we actually do about it? How do we dim that imaginary spotlight and get a little relief from all the anxiety it causes?
Okay, here's a super simple 3-step toolkit you can use. First up, challenge your inner mind reader. You're so sure that person is judging you, but do you really know that for a fact? What's another, maybe more likely possibility? Second, flip it around. Seriously, how much of your day did you spend analyzing a stranger's outfit or replaying a coworker's weird comment? Yeah, probably 0. So give other people that same benefit of the doubt. They're just as busy with their own stuff. And third, shift your attention outward. Get out of your own head. Focus on the actual conversation you're in, on the world around you, on literally anything other than your own anxiety.
And that really gets to the heart of it. As psychologist Dr. Helena Dieske put it, we all have to devote a considerable amount of our attention to our own lives. The reason people aren't keeping a detailed list of all your mistakes is because they're way too busy starring in their own movie.
And here's the main takeaway, the thing I really want you to remember. Realizing nobody is paying that much attention to you, it's not depressing. It's the opposite. It's freeing. That spotlight you feel, it's imaginary. And real freedom isn't about trying to control what other people think of you. That's impossible. It's about gaining control over your own thoughts.
So I'll just leave you with this to chew on. If you really, truly knew for a fact that no one was judging you, that the spotlight was completely off, what would you do differently? What would you finally have the courage to try?